My brother-in-law is the reason why my husband left me. I don't know what to do now.
All right, I'm buckling up.
Getting into it. We're getting into it. I, female 38, met my brother-in-law, 38, at uni. He asked me out in our first year and I refused. He called me the C word and that I am shallow. My best friend told me that it was a harmless comment from a drunken guy who got rejected. I never thought of myself as shallow. It was his demeanor and awkwardness that was off-putting to me. Anyways, he proved my friend right, and other than these comments, I have never felt uncomfortable during my uni years because he never bothered me again. Not even looked my way. Next time I met him was when my baby sister, female 28, introduced him to me as her boyfriend. I didn't even recognize him at first because it was like 9 to 10 years since that day he talked to me. He was visibly annoyed that I didn't recognize him and he called me a liar. The family was skeptical at first about him, but he seemed to treat my sister right and she seemed happy. Parentheses, he is very rich. Taking her all over the world, and he seemed kind with her too. They got married after a year of dating. They now have 3 children. I met my now ex, male 40, 5 years ago, and the only odd comment from my brother-in-law was that I was still as shallow and superficial as I was in university. At the time, I took it as a joke, but in hindsight, when I found out the truth and started thinking back, looking for red flags, this was probably a big one. He never showed any signs that he disliked my husband, and he was always decent enough with his indifference to have a close friendship with my husband and I. Didn't seem odd because he was always kind of a recluse anyways. A year ago, my husband came home and accused me of cheating, and he had evidence. The guy contacted him and he had nudes, etc. of me on his phone. The guy told my husband that he didn't know at first that I was married, but as soon as he found out, he contacted my now ex. He even apologized to my husband. I have never met this guy in my life. Nothing I said or did made my husband believe me. He left me and our divorce is pending. Then yesterday, the guy contacted me. He apologized for what he did and told me that he is friends with my brother-in-law. He sent me conversations, endless conversations my brother-in-law had about me for years. He has never forgotten that I, in his words, quote, didn't even give him a chance and only judged him by his looks. He called me a C word in that chat too. Both group chat with his friends, but mostly with this guy. They planned this attack and my brother-in-law somehow got access to my photos. The reason this guy contacted me now is that he felt guilty because even when my marriage is over, my brother-in-law still was angry and hateful, especially when he heard that I was on a date last weekend. So the friend felt that he didn't help his friend, but ruined innocent people's lives instead. Not sure what to do. My brother-in-law has actually been happier and more sociable than usual since my divorce, and now I know why, although first I thought he felt sorry and wanted to support me. He jokes about me ending up an old maid with cats as companions, and it doesn't sound like jokes anymore. He means them. I don't want to ruin my sister's life. She's very happy with her husband. I'm not sure if I should tell my ex or not. I'm very heartbroken that he didn't believe me. I love him very much. He is the love of my life. But I'm not sure if I can forgive him for not believing me. But he is a victim in this too, so maybe he needs to know for closure. I'm so terribly sad and hurt. I'm sorry this post has gotten very long.
Oh my God. A lot of elements to this one. A lot of shitty people in this one.
Oh my God.
So this guy's a monster, has held on to a rejection from over 10 years or 9 years ago. Still holding that level of resentment is psychopathic. That's wild. This friend of the brother-in-law's just went along with this plan. I mean, are they both in on, that's a crime, I believe.
Revenge porn.
Yeah, that they both are within that. I think she should communicate this whole thing to someone because that's a crime. And I mean, in regards to her saying, I don't want to ruin my sister's life, her brother-in-law ruined her sister's life. When you commit a crime of that level, you're ruining everyone's life around you.
Yeah.
So yeah, she should absolutely tell.
I would definitely press charges for the revenge porn. I would be very scared actually that he still has access to whatever home cameras or your cell phone, your iCloud.
Where the hell did he get that stuff? Because that's terrifying.
That's
another thing.
Hacking.
So I don't know what, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know what levels of crimes, how many have been committed here, but I know there's at least a couple. He's stalking her.
I mean, at minimum, it kind of feels like that. And like, there's so much to unpack here because it's like, did he plant cameras in her house? How did he get those photos? But at the same time, like stalking. Did he actually meet the sister organically? Or was he still so pissed at this woman for denying him in college one random drunken night that he then sought out her sister?
I think it's safe to assume that, but like, how are you going to find that out? but I am very curious where these photos came from. She didn't really go into more details of what they were, and that's fair, but that's shocking as hell. And it is sad that the husband just immediately was like, divorce, I'm done. It's like, you don't want to ask a single more. I mean, especially if she shows her husband these text messages, then he'll know. At that stage, I don't know what I would do as her, because now you know, like, oh, you didn't trust me for a second. That's tough. But she absolutely should not just keep this a secret.
No, you have to tell him.
Yeah.
You have to. There are a lot of comments from OP, which the top comment on this one does kind of pick up on the fact, it wouldn't shock me if this guy found your sister and is dating her just to remain close to you.
Yeah.
And OP does respond, I feel so too. It makes it even worse.
I hate that there's children involved in this too.
Yeah, 3.
That sucks. I don't think it changes any of the actions she should take.
I think, unfortunately, the sister stays with him. Like, if we're imagining how this plays out, if everything else in their life is perfect, I don't think she's going to let this ruin her life.
It makes it extra scary how much he can put on a facade. That even OP was like, oh yeah, I think things are fine. And then it turns out, no, he was obsessed this whole time to a degree that is borderline fiction. I don't know what you do. This is a situation that doesn't have a good outcome no matter what.
No. And you honestly need to for your own safety.
Oh, yeah.
This is just not safe or healthy for you anymore.
Right.
We do have some insight about the nudes and like how OP thinks he got them. Someone commented, I'm just confused how he was able to get nudes from you. Maybe you should be careful about having pics like that in your regular photo album and put them in a hidden folder. They also make apps for that kind of stuff. If your brother-in-law had it in for you, then not much you can do about that. And since your ex is out of the picture, it's time for you to move on and live your best life and close this chapter of heartbreak you've experienced. It's not her responsibility to go through extra steps to hide these photos.
That's crazy.
But OP does respond, they're on my iPhone and my husband's, which if he had the pictures, how did he not recognize like, oh, she sent these to me? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah, especially then.
But OP does comment shortly after and says, oh God, I just remembered something. My sister has my passcodes. He is an IT guy, but maybe it wasn't that he hacked my accounts or something complicated. Maybe she just gave him the password.
I mean, if it's on their iPhones and this guy knows IT, it's probably something he accessed. It's still, that's such a breach of privacy, and it's still the same level of behavior that I think is so dangerous and wild. I don't know what to say at that. Like, it's nuts.
No, and it's still very fresh. I mean, it's only a day old. I feel we're going to get an update on this one, so we'll all keep an eye out. But I think OP has been well supported by friends and family. She makes a comment that they believed her, at least.
Good.
And then does say, like, I'm very hurt and angry that he didn't believe me, but let's face it, I would have probably done the same thing.